Did you know that every AA group is free to run itself entirely on its own terms, without outside interference? But here's the catch. That freedom comes with the responsibility to protect the fellowship as a whole. Today, we're breaking down the fourth tradition and its role in preserving both group autonomy and the unity of the 12-step fellowships. As I share this, please know I'm not a spokesperson for any fellowship, and I only speak from my personal experience with the 12-step program and the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. The fourth tradition states, each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole. At its core, this tradition protects the independence of each AA group, allowing them to structure their meetings, approach, and decisions in the way that works best for them. But it also establishes a critical boundary. Groups must avoid actions that could harm other groups or the fellowship at large. This balance, autonomy with responsibility, has allowed AA to grow and thrive while maintaining its focus on carrying the message to those who need it most. The long form of the tradition provides deeper context, and it goes like this. With respect to its own affairs, each AA group should be responsible to no other authority than its own conscience. But when its plans concern the welfare of neighboring groups also, these groups ought to be consulted, and no group, regional committee, or individual should ever take any action that might greatly affect AA as a whole without conferring with the trustees of the General Service Board. On such issues, our common welfare is paramount. In the early days of AA, groups experimented with their own formats and approaches. While some succeeded, others made choices that caused conflict or confusion, leading to the need for this tradition. The fourth tradition was created to ensure groups could operate freely while keeping the unity and integrity of AA intact. It's a safeguard that reminds us our independence ends where the welfare of others begins. Let's break this tradition down. First, what does autonomy mean here? Each group has the freedom to decide how to structure meetings, carry the message, and serve their members. Whether it's meeting formats, literature choices, or service positions, the group conscience holds the ultimate authority. But here's the key. Autonomy doesn't mean isolation. It's about running your group in a way that helps alcoholics and addicts recover while respecting the principles of the 12 traditions. A principle of this tradition is a group's responsibility to others. The tradition clearly states that groups must not take actions that harm other groups or the fellowship as a whole. For example, a group's practices shouldn't discourage members from attending other meetings or create a public image that contradicts AA's primary purpose. I've witnessed situations where groups stepped outside these boundaries, causing division and confusion. One example is a group that used militant discipline and no step work. They recruited members from other groups, directly contradicting the message of recovery in the Big Book. Actions like these violate the spirit of the fourth tradition because they harm the unity and effectiveness of the fellowship as a whole. This tradition gives freedom with accountability. This tradition teaches us that we have the right to make mistakes, but not at the expense of others. Groups are free to try different approaches as long as they don't harm the message of the fellowship. Here's how groups can honor their autonomy while staying true to the spirit of Tradition 4. Number 1, follow the group conscience. The group conscience, guided by a loving God, should always have the final say in decisions. This ensures that decisions are made collectively and in alignment with the group's purpose. Number 2, respect other groups. Groups should avoid actions that directly or indirectly harm neighboring groups. For example, promoting a message that contradicts the Big Book or recruiting members from other groups undermines AA unity. Number 3, consider public perception. It's important to remember that AA members and groups' actions represent AA as a whole. Whether it's speaking to newcomers, interacting with the community, or addressing the media, groups should uphold AA's principles and protect its reputation. Number 4, consult when it's needed. If a group is unsure whether its actions might affect others, it's wise to consult neighboring groups' trusted servants or someone from the district or area board. This humility and openness prevents potential conflicts and strengthens unity. Number 5, always stay grounded in Tradition 1. Always keep the common welfare in mind. Our primary purpose is to help the alcoholic who still suffers, and every decision should reflect that. The fourth tradition truly embodies 3 core spiritual principles. 1, autonomy. Groups are trusted to make their own decisions, reflecting the faith AA places in its members to act responsibly. Number 2, responsibility. With freedom comes accountability to each other, to AA as a whole, and to the newcomer seeking recovery. Number 3, humility. This tradition reminds us to consult others when our actions could affect the broader fellowship. It teaches us to trust God's guidance, both for our group and for the fellowship. We have the right to be wrong, but we also have the responsibility to ensure our mistakes don't harm others. God's guidance, sought through group conscience and the 12 traditions, is what keeps the fellowships on the right path. The fourth tradition is a cornerstone of AA structure. It gives each group the freedom to run itself while reminding us of the responsibility we have to protect the unity and integrity of the fellowships. If you're a member of a group, take a moment to reflect. Does your group honor its autonomy while respecting the welfare of other groups and AA as a whole? Are your decisions guided by a loving God and the principles of the 12 traditions? At the heart of this tradition is a simple truth. Freedom works best when paired with responsibility. By honoring the fourth tradition, we ensure that our recovery fellowships remain a safe and effective place for anyone seeking recovery to live recovered on purpose. If you want to watch the complete guide for all 12 traditions, you can click right here. Or if you want to go back to the steps and watch all 12, you can click right here.